Got my legal hustle, welcome to the trap. I can blow a stack, bet I make it back. You can hit my line if you need a track. But we can't even talk if it ain't about the bag.
Tory Lanez trial, we had opening statements. Opening statements are still actually going. We have to pause midway through for lunch. Better than TV. If you watch the prosecution's opening statement, you would say guilty. If you then watch the defense's opening statement, you would say, what the hell is the prosecution thinking, charging him? Basically, the prosecution started with this story. They said that, hey, they're all at the party, and Tory is leaving the party with Meg. They're in the car. An argument breaks out, during which Meg says and insults his skills as a rap artist. This leads to a situation where she gets out of the car, and he shoots at her feet and yells, "Dance, bitch." And then she ends up at a hospital, and a doctor takes out 3 fragments of bullet wounds from her foot. Now, if you just hear, and the prosecution says that Kelsey, the other woman in the car, is going to testify that Tory shot Meg. And Kelsey has a text message where she texts somebody that, hey, Tory shot Meg. And then the rest of the prosecution's case is based on all these calls and texts where Tory's like, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, I'm so drunk. He never says that I shot him. He's like, oh, I'm just so sorry, I'm so drunk. So question what he's apologizing for. So that's the prosecution's case. Seems pretty easy. Then the defense comes up, and man, it gets spicy. First, the defense goes, they're not telling you about half of what's going on. The most important thing they're not telling you about an eyewitness who saw 2 women fighting, Kelsey and Meg. And so let's talk about why them 2 are fighting. Let's talk about how she was in the front seat. The gun was caught in the front seat. Let's talk about how she might have gunpowder. She does have gunpowder. Let's talk about how this has nothing to do with the fight between Tory and Meg and everything to do with the fight between Meg and Kelsey. And then the defense starts dropping the bombs. He basically says this, that they're in the car. Yeah, they left. But do you know why they left? They left because Kylie and Tory were in the pool together. And Kelsey and Meg both felt some type of way about that, to the point that Meg felt really some type of way about that. And she was really trying to go, to the point that eventually, because of how Meg is acting, this is according to the defense, Kylie Jenner goes to Meg Thee Stallion and says, it's time for you to leave. They all leave. The defense's point is what happens in the car is this. Tory questions Kelsey, hey Kelsey, why are you backing up Meg for me trying to, get it on with Kylie Jenner? Meg has been snaking men from you your whole life. I hooked up with you, Kelsey, and then Meg went behind your back and hooked up with me. And Kelsey, this is not the first time. You had been hooking up with Ben Simmons. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with Ben Simmons. You had been hooking up with the baby. Meg went behind your back and hooked up with the baby. And so the defense starts dropping all these grenades. The crowd is captivated. The jury's like, oh, what's going on? And there's every reason to believe that there could have been a fight here, not between Tory and Meg, but between Meg and Kelsey. And the shooting could have not been Tory. It could have been done by any one of the other people in that car. What does all of this mean? Well, I'll tell you a couple things. First, Corey Gamble, Kris Jenner's husband, is going to testify, so this will continue to be must-see TV. 2, the judge is terrific. I expect a very fair trial. The lawyers on the defense side are terrific. I don't know what the government lawyer was doing, giving an opening presentation that made it seem like the most open and shut case ever, when in fact there are huge questions, including an eyewitness who saw 2 women fighting, suggesting that you have to explain that theory to the jury, and you didn't. So I don't love the prosecution's opening in that regard. Stay tuned. We'll have the full coverage here. It's up and it's stuck in the Tory Lanez trial. All right, we're back with the rest of the update in Tory Lanez. So we are taking our afternoon break. There's going to be more testimony at the end of the day, but right now, let me catch you up on what's happened since lunch. The defense continued and concluded their opening statement. They confirmed that their theory of the case is going to be that Kelsey was the shooter. Tory was just trying to break up the fight. Then the prosecution went up. They put on a police officer as their first witness. This is the police officer who arrived at the scene of the shooting. He testified about how he saw gun casings, blood spatter. This was a big mistake in my opinion, because the defense attorney ended up tearing this police officer's testimony to shreds. He basically got the officer to admit that they did not use the proper evidence markers to mark and identify the location of every piece of evidence. So the police cannot tell you where blood was found exactly in relation to the gun casings, where, based on the trail of blood, the victim would have walked around. They can't tell and paint the whole story of what happened when the person got out of the car. Why, if you can't paint that story, why, if you didn't use the evidence markers, why, if you purportedly have a very simple case, did you waste your time making your first witness a police officer whose testimony is going to get torn to shreds by the defense attorney. Big mistake in my opinion, if you ask me. From here going forward, the defense will always be able to point out that the government's investigation is completely incapable of telling the jury about the movement of the victim outside of the car. So if you're trying to inject reasonable doubt, alternative theories, you've now done a great job setting it up that the government's story has holes in it.
What's going on, y'all? It's the kid J Nolan here. Hey, as y'all probably heard by now, the Megan Thee Stallion Tory Lanez trial is officially underway. Man. First, they look like it was very stacked, man. Like they got a lot of things being revealed from the jump. According to Rolling Stone's news reporter Nancy Dillon, they're saying Tory Lanez and Kelsey, Meg's former best friend, have both tested positive for gunshot residue, meaning that when the shot was fired that allegedly hit Megan, or at least allegedly hit the glass that scarred her feet, they got gunpowder residue on them. So one of the two must have pulled the trigger. I don't know, man. That's just what I'm deducing, right? It's also reported that Tory's defense is planning to say Kelsey could have discharged the gun that shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot. All right. So he's trying to absolve himself completely of even having anything to do with this gunshot being fired. He's saying, hey, man, Shawty was sitting right here. She pulled the trigger. Gunpowder got on me, but she did it. OK. Let me up out of here. I ain't no gangster. I ain't never been no gangster, man. Let me put out my record. Shit crazy, man. That's all I can really say. We also have this attorney going by the name of LawyerForWorkers, right? And he's got some information saying that the defense is alleging that Megan and Kelsey were seen fighting on the night of the shooting, right? Like they were having some sort of disagreement when they got kicked out of Kylie Jenner's house. Going further than that, during the opening statements, Tory's lawyers also stated that these two women, Megan and Kelsey, were dating the same guys. And it's not just one, like not just Tory, but apparently Tory, the baby, and Ben Simmons. Now, I ain't really wanting to be getting into everybody's dating history and all that type of stuff. That ain't really what I'm about on this channel. But it is looking a little messy, man. Y'all out here pillow talking, sharing the same bed. Like, I thought it was weird enough to see Megan with Tory in the first place. Like that was a very highly unlikely situation, but you know, Eric, whatever floats your boat, you know, she wanted to ride the boat. I guess he had the boat for her. It ain't looking too good, man. Now, I had seen some rumors of people saying that Kelsey was actually going to testify on Megan's behalf. I don't know if that's going to remain true. We're going to have to stay tuned in for all of that to see if that actually plays out as predicted. At this point where she's being accused of actually pulling the trigger, I think it's going to be more likely that she defends Megan in this trial, despite the fact that they've fallen out. They've been taking, you know, jabs at each other through social media. Even Megan's made songs about her or lyrics in songs about her. So even though they're not seeing eye to eye, I think it's going to work in both of their best interests to kind of have some sort of camaraderie in the courtroom. This shit crazy, man. Now, people that know Kelsey, they're saying that she doesn't even know who Ben Simmons is. So they're refuting that claim. At the end of the day, we're going to have to find out. It's going to have to be some lie detector. This is going to have to be some real, you know what I'm saying, corroboration of evidence going on before we could say anything conclusive. I'm sure that this is going to go well into the beginning of next year. So y'all can't really take anything that these people are saying on social media with too much weight. Take it with a grain of salt. But the case is underway. They coming out swinging. They not just throwing jabs. They got swords, javelins, and all that type of stuff. It's really about to be some Game of Thrones type stuff in this courtroom, man. So be sure to stay tuned. Go ahead and let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. This is a mess. Let me know what y'all think. Who y'all siding with? What do you think the outcome of this is even gonna be? Be sure to like and share this video. And if this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the post notification bell for all updates, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right? Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.